Hello and welcome back to the Lounge Pokemon Draft League Season 1 Battle Breakdown. My name is Fishmonger, and today I'll be taking you through the quarterfinals battle between myself and Michael. For a little context going into this game, Michael and I both entered this final bracket with a 4-4 set count, seating us right next to each other. Furthermore, Michael and I had last faced off not long ago during Week 8. Week 8 was also my last battle of the regular season. I had a bye week, Week 9, um, which kind of sucked because I had to sit around while everyone else got their final games in. It was pretty exciting, but it was nice to have a break, especially towards the end of the school year. However, our Week 8 match did result in my defeat. So despite our even set count, Michael was favored to come out on top. However, I did have a little trick up my sleeve. Now, Merriam-Webster Dictionary has a footnote defining insanity as doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I embraced this to its fullest degree. If the team I made specifically to beat Michael during Week 8 didn't work, then why not use it again? Now, this game I've been previewing for you guys right now, it's not the quarterfinals battle between Michael and I, but rather our Week 8 battle. And, as you can see, um, I held my ground and brought an identical team, the exact same team, really, um, to my quarterfinals match with Michael. Well, he changed a few core members of his team to try to counter me, but I think me holding my ground might have thrown him off balance a little bit. Uh, for some further trivia, this is also the exact same team I brought to, I think, one or two previous games as well. So I feel like my opponents either caught on that I was bringing the same team, or were trying to overpredict and plan for me to change things up. Well, in fact, I'm just bringing the same Pokemon every week, and it's up to them if they can make a team good enough to beat it. Clearly, Week 8 Michael did, but Week 9 I was feeling confident in my boys. So let's quick take a look at this team preview here, because I think this is a pretty interesting dynamic. I love thinking about team previews and um, the mind games that are already at play just by looking at this lineup here. I guess, for example, what I'd like to start off with is looking at Garchomp here. Now, anything he has could possibly be a lead Pokemon, but Garchomp is very common as a lead thanks to his access to Dragon Tail and Stealth Rock, a phasing move, and probably the best move in the entire game, arguably. Stealth Rock is so decisive in some games. Now, my team isn't particularly weak to Stealth Rock, but the chip damage does add up, especially with a lot of pivoting, which is something that I tend to do quite a bit of with U-turn and um, Regenerator's Slowbro. So Stealth Rock would not be a bad way to start off any game at all. Um, but in terms of the other members of his team, the only one I could reasonably see being a decent lead against what I have here in my lineup will be Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat has Fire and Electric stab moves, which happen to be super effective versus Corviknight and Magnezone and Slowbro. um, and Gengar is pretty frail already, and it's faster than Blissey, so it can just Volt Switch out of there. So the only thing that realistically Rotom Heat wouldn't want to be in on is Iron Hands, but even then, Iron Hands doesn't typically run coverage moves that can do too much to Rotom Heat. So here I was thinking, okay, he's probably going to run Rotom Heat. He's probably going to lead Rotom Heat. And Week 8, I was right about that. Turn 1, he did lead with Rotom Heat, and I led with my Blissey, predicting the Rotom Heat. Now, I was kind of hoping that I could do a super Mega Brain prediction and get the exact same lead matchup, because Blissey matches up really well into Rotom and not too great into Garchomp. But if Rotom Heat beats most of my team, then maybe it would be the ideal lead. Anyways, I was wrong. He goes straight out with Iron Valiant. Now, for those of you at home who aren't aware, Iron Valiant might just be one of the strongest Pokemon any of us had access to in this draft league. Super fast, super strong, and in the Blissey matchup, a normal type who is extremely defensively frail versus one of the fastest and strongest fighting types in the entire game. Um, I was sweating right off the bat. This was a scary matchup to start off with. Um, Also, I want to quick mention this was during the drama where Kyle so desperately wanted us to speed through the games with a timer, but Michael and I had decided, no, let's take our time with this. Let's think our moves through and really go with the flow. Do our calculations and have no pressure, just to win the game. So we didn't go for a timer this game, partially just to screw with Kyle, but also it's I'd say it's a bit nicer for thinking through your moves. Now I did the calcs on this in the moment actually, just because I was so terrified. I wanted to be sure, because I tend to run a very defensively bulky Blissey. Be, I mean, special defense Blissey has enough of already. And what I found was, even if Iron Valiant isn't fully invested in its physical attack, a raw close combat, even on the most defensive Blissey I could possibly make, was still a guaranteed one-hit knockout. So I didn't want to even run that risk. I had just failed to uh, predict that lead matchup, and I was feeling kind of stupid. So I wanted to. I could have maybe done another prediction and hoped he would. If there was no chance for it to knock me out, I might have gone for the prediction here. But I didn't like testing my odds. So I chose to switch out right away turn 1 into my Gengar. Um, Now, usually I like to play around obvious switches like this. Yes, a close combat from Iron Valiant is pretty much either going to knock out that Blissey or chunk it for almost all of its health, and it can't do too much to Valiant back. So Michael decides to go for a Swords Dance here. That was a very obvious switch, and that was a perfect opportunity to set up a Swords Dance. But again, I didn't want to run that risk, and Blissey is extremely valuable to me. It's one of the only things I have that can even try to deal with Rotom. So I needed to find a way to get rid of this Valiant as quick as I possibly could. Now, Gengar does Gengar does what it does best. Um, Iron Valiant usually will naturally outspeed a Gengar, and I was hoping that Michael would realize that, and also realize that he would not have to worry about speed this game, thus not running a Booster Energy Cork Drive to get his speed up, which would allow me to then run a Choice Scarf Gengar as as a potential reversal option. And as always, Destiny Bond, Psycho Cut gets a crit on me, but I take down 2 birds with 1 stone and arguably get more advantageous placement out of this because, again, Iron Valiant is a monster. Well, Gengar is useful, but it's more of a utility Pokemon for me than it is a, game winner. So I consider that a massive win for me, but we are even now, so it's still anybody's game. So yeah, Gengar came in clutch there, but it's still only turn 2, so there's a lot of game left to happen. Michael sends in Flapple, and once again I send in my Blissey. Now I was really hoping that we would see some Rotom Heat again. Rotom Heat is really good against everything I have. So to me, it felt like a very obvious switch in. And the fact that I'd already used Blissey, I feel like made it more likely for him to try to throw out Rotom. Again, I was wrong, and now Blissey is in against another very strong physical attacker. Flapple also threatens to one-hit KO Blissey with its Outrage. So, seeing how turn 1, switching out Blissey was the wrong move, and he spent that turn boosting, a Dragon Dance Flapple could also threaten to destroy my team all in one go. So, I tried to play around that, and he gets the critical hit U-turn. Now, mind you, in the first 2 attacks Michael has used this game, he's gotten critical hits on. Let that be known. This man is so lucky. Um, but anyways, look how much damage that U-turn did. If he had just straight up gone for an outrage, Blissey would have been dead. This was just his pivoting move. Um, but it chunks Blissey for a ton of health, and it lets him switch into Quaquavel right away. Now I don't know if it showed it there, but I go for my stealth rocks there, just so I can start getting some chip damage on him. Because I need anything. I'm grasping for straws here. Uh, so Blissey switches out into Brombo. My Slowbro, I love Slowbro, and being a uh, bulky water psychic type, anything Quaquavel does probably isn't going to affect Slowbro too much. So this gives me a bit of an advantage here, as long as he doesn't throw out anything that affects me too much. Now he does get the rapid spin off. I didn't even know this thing could spin. That's kind of odd. Caught me off guard a little bit. The speed boost doesn't matter too much. My whole team is super slow, so not a huge deal. But he does get rid of my hazards, so Blissey has done virtually nothing this game except for take damage and put me in tough spots. But Brombo took no damage from rapid spin whatsoever, considering the leftovers healing. So really, we're in a very neutral situation now. He switches out his Quaquavel back into Flapple, getting that grass type on the field. Well, I go for Trick Room. Suddenly now, my slow team is the fastest team, and this Trick Room has gone poorly for me in the past, but in this game state, I'm feeling pretty confident that I'll be able to make something happen out of this. Now, here I come switching into Corviknight. Corviknight's steel typing just shuts down anything Flapple can do. Flapple is strong, but Corviknight is faster in Trick Room and bulky enough to take pretty much anything Flapple can throw at him. So here comes another U-turn. That was kind of obvious, but it was it was the best thing I could do at the moment, is get Corviknight on the field. Corviknight's just so useful as a pivot Pokemon or just straight up damage. So now here comes the Garchomp that I thought was coming from the very beginning as the obvious lead. But Garchomp can't really hit Corviknight with either of its stab moves at all. So this leads me to believe that it's probably running Fire Fang, if I had to make a guess. That's the only reason I could see it sitting in against Corviknight. But so I switch out to Slowbro, predicting a Fire Fang. Here comes Flamethrower. This is a special Garchomp, guys. That's not too common. But I do love to see experimentation with Pokemon like this, especially things that are as versatile as Garchomp. It shows that Michael is doing more than just picking, the most common, Smogon sets he can find, but he's trying to figure out unique strategies, like how, Corviknight is extremely defensive, defensively bulky. So going for Fire Fang, even if it hit me, it might not even knock me out. But a Flamethrower, going for my more frail special defense, that's actually a really smart play. I'm glad I pivoted here, because Garchomp, I'm sure he calced this, it probably could have knocked me out or at the very least done some pretty substantial damage. So, good play on Erection here. Very clever name. Haha, funny Michael. Not as cool as Brombo, but whatever. So yeah, switching out to Slowbro there was a pretty big play. I'm very glad I was able to avoid any fire attacks from Oh, and yeah, here we go. Terra Fire Garchomp. I think he was planning purely on using this thing to take out Corviknight and maybe even Magnezone, which is just terrifying. I go for Future Sight and he goes for Draco Meteor. Now I find it a little odd that he would turn into into a fire type right now, especially against a water type. Now I guess on one end, yes, he gains a water weakness, but I guess at the same time, he just wants to. I don't know. I could make excuses, but I feel like this was a little bit too early on the trigger for a Terra type, just because it doesn't really let him do anything versus Slowbro. As we can see, he does use Draco Meteor, and that does a ton of damage. But that's not something he can follow up on, because he does lose his special attack here. And I got a Future Sight off. Future Sight in general is just always nice to have, But because he always has this Umbreon on the bench, I need to find some way to get rid of Umbreon for Future Sight to be a reliable option, because he always has the ability to, switch away and completely avoid that damage. Because now he goes for Snarl, I take a chunk, I set Trick Room back up, and Future Sight does nothing. So, what has gone on in the past, I don't know, however many turns? Brombo's taken 19%, and Trick Room's been set up again, and Garchomp's been terrestrialized. It's a lot of time spent doing pretty much nothing, but having Trick Room up is always good for me to have. So I switched out to Blissey because I saw this was using Snarl, and I don't really care much about losing my special attack here either. So Blissey, I felt pretty confident I could sit on Umbreon and heal it back up without being too threatened. And Blissey has access to Natural Cure, and despite Umbreon being pretty famous for putting things to sleep or using any other status moves it has, Blissey will be able to cure itself anyways. So I wasn't too concerned. I felt like this was a pretty free switch. However, he does switch back out to Flapple while I heal back up to full, or nearly full. But I am drowsy, and I'm going to fall asleep at the on this turn. So I've got a Sleeping Blissey versus something that can pretty much one-hit my Blissey anyways. So obviously I gotta switch out here, and I go back into Corviknight. It's the only thing that I feel can comfortably take any attack from Flapple here. And here goes Gravapple. I did make the right prediction. Even if it didn't miss, that would do virtually no damage to Corviknight here, but it is scary that he would just go straight up for an attack there. He wanted Blissey dead, and I'm glad I switched there. So here we see Rotom Heat coming out. Finally, this is the one Pokemon I've been trying to draw out since the beginning of the game. Now, the question is, will I be able to capitalize on this? I get the Brave Bird off, do no damage. So, and now he's faster than me, so I have to switch, and I switch into Blissey. And he starts boosting with Nasty Plot. Now, Blissey might be the special defense wall to end all special defense walls, but a boosted Rotom Heat can... Oh, look at this. I love you, Toaster. How cute. But a boosted Rotom Heat can still tear down a Blissey, no matter how bulky it might think it is. So, this gives me very limited time. And here he goes for another Nasty Plot. And I'm just going for Seismic Toss here. I'm just trying to get any damage I can get in. Thunderbolt, 45%. I mean, this thing, Rotom Heat is strong, but Blissey's so bulky that even then, I'm not even taking half from this thing's attacks. So this is a pretty interesting situation here. He could choose to keep boosting, but I can always out-heal him, and Seismic Toss will eventually beat him, so he's gonna need to get another... Okay, yeah, so I kind of skipped ahead there a little bit. Oh, here we go. So in the chat, we've got William chanting for crits. Michael's already been so lucky with crits in our previous games. I'd have been pretty mad if he got a crit there. But, we can see... Oh, shoot. Restarted the game. Give me a moment. Alright, I'll just let this play for a second. So yeah, I get the Seismic Toss off. He gets the Thunderbolt. I get another Seismic Toss off. So now, yeah, he could Volt Switch here, but he's pretty much setting himself up to die on this next turn. So to play it safe, as we saw before, he goes for the Overheat to try to finish me off, which works. And you know, he already has his boosted special attack, so he's still extremely threatening, even though he's at low health. And he does get rid of my Blissey. He also has the Eject Pack, which was a really smart strategy to use, which let him force himself to switch out after using Overheat. Now, in that situation with those Nasty Plots set up, it might not have been the best play, just because he already had those boosts, so he could probably nail something for some damage later next, but because he has the eject pack, that might open up the possibility to use Wish with Umbreon and heal Rotom Heat back up, but it does force him to switch back into Flapple, which gives me an advantage on the switch, which lets me get Electro Boom in. Now, he misses the U-turn. Now, this was obvious with Grab Apple before, but this just goes to show that this Flapple has the Hustle ability. Hustle is not my favorite. Lower accuracy is annoying. That's something that I try to avoid at any cost, but it is hard to deny a basically having a choice band for an item for an ability, which just makes Flapple something I always have to worry about, regardless of if it's gonna miss or not. Now he does miss that U-turn, which is huge, because it means I can wall up this thing with whatever I've got. However, I anticipated him actually hitting that U-turn, and hoping that would mean he would switch out, and then I could get a counter switch into something else. He might have gone into Garchomp, but Garchomp's a fire type now, so I could safely go for a Volt Switch without fear of it getting blocked by anything. So honestly, that missing almost worked better for him, because now I am forced to switch at a time where I didn't really want to. But yeah, here comes Big Yellow, the star of the team, and I go back to Corviknight because I wanted to, again, Corviknight is very bulky and can kind of sit on top of Flapple and not worry too much. But here goes Michael missing another U-turn. Now, I know I made fun of him for getting so many crits before, but yeah, missing 2 U-turns in a row like that is, and the Grab Apple before, so annoying. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. Actually, it's very unfortunate. I think he's missed every single attack he's used this game, bar that first U-turn. So yeah, here comes Garchomp, the fire type, mind you. So, once again, this Garchomp is pretty much designed to beat Corviknight. So I'm very grateful that I went for the U-turn on that turn. Because I do get chipped by the rough skin and the Rocky Helmet. That is huge. Corviknight, I mean, I have leftovers, and I always run Roost on this thing, so I've got ways to recover. But my team is running pretty thin here, so I can't afford to take too much damage with Corviknight. So in comes my Big Yellow. And Big Yellow is, like my ace in the hole, the thing that can always get me out of any situation. But Garchomp does have, Ground Stab, so I have to be very careful to avoid anything. So the classic Big Yellow flying Terra type. This lets me avoid my biggest weakness, which is things like Earthquake, and in Garchomp situations, it's probably running something like Earth Power. I don't really know yet. It does look like it's a special variant, but this gives me the most assurance, unless he, again, predicts that I'm going for a flying type, but it was better than risking getting hit by a stab ground move. So he goes for Draco Meteor and just tries to chunk me, which is fine. I guess I could have predicted that, but there wasn't much I could do. And then I'm able to get an Earthquake off, and look at that, super effective critical hit. I'm not exactly sure if without the crit that would have knocked him out from pretty much full, but that does go to show the power of Iron Hands. I don't have access to my sets from before. I don't know if this was a choice band, and I don't really feel like calcing it right now, but this was a pretty huge moment, getting rid of his Terra type Pokemon, and something that I think the only thing on his team that really shuts down Magnezone hard. Everything else, like Rotom Heat, is so weak that it'll probably get taken out residually throughout the game. Quaquaval is the only thing here that really Magnezone's kind of scared of, but getting rid of Garchomp was huge. So I ate a little bit with leftovers, and here comes Rotom Heat. Now, he could be going for some more nasty plots, hoping I'm going to switch out. Yeah, did the calc, didn't matter, that's fun. Oh, okay, so I guess I'm looking at this. I guess back then I did run the calc, and I knew that was going to knock out anyways, but The crit was huge, regardless, I guess. Just for rubbing it in his face that I can also get crits when I don't need them. But yeah, here he could be going for a Volt Switch to try to bait me. He is an electric type, and I did turn into a flying type. So now every single Pokemon on my team is weak to Rotom Heat. This is scary. This is not ideal, but that was I felt that Flying Terra was necessary just to secure Iron Hands safely. So I could see an Overheat coming here. I don't know if an Overheat would knock out. I do run a very specially defensive Iron Hands. Um, there could also just be, straight up Thunderbolt trying to go for the knockout. Volt Switch to almost kill me and get Rotom Heat back out. This is a pretty scary turn here. So he does go for the Nasty Plot, assuming I'm going to switch out. But Iron Hands has no fear. I get yet another critical hit and knock him out with that Drain Punch. Now, those random predictions I was making at the beginning of the game that had no chance of working, this time things weren't my favor, and Iron Hands gets that knockout. So here comes Quick Wavel. Obviously, I'm not going to stand against this thing. I mean, I had 63%, but I didn't really have anything that could realistically hit this thing too hard on my current set. I don't think this thing even had Thunder Punch on it. I'm going to be honest. Again, I can't really look back right now, but I don't have anything that can threaten this, so that's Brombo's job. Wave Crash does nothing. Again, Brombo's awesome. And I can go for Trick Room and start going for the speed shifting again. This gives me some an advantage right now. So he tries to yawn me, put me to sleep. So he's kind of forcing me to use U-turn, which forces me back into Iron Hands. But now I'm Iron Hands in Trick Room, super fast, and he goes for Wish. Now, all of his Pokemon have pretty much full health, so my assumption here is that he's either going to try to swap into something like Flapple or Quaquaval, tank a hit, heal back up, and then try to go for a sweep, or start stalling with Umbreon. I'm not exactly sure. All I know is I have a fast Iron Hands on the field, so I have no reason not to just start walloping on him with Drain Punches. But as you can see there, I also made a prediction. Because I decided, hey, all of his Pokemon are pretty much close to full, so I don't think this wish is for anything else. So what could this wish possibly be for? Probably for Umbreon, so he can stall. So, predicting that Protect, I get a Swords Dance off, and I still have one turn of Trick Room left. And as you guys at home are aware, Iron Hands with the Swords Dance is basically an unstoppable force at this point. There's nothing that can comfortably take a hit from it. So I get to go for Drain Punch, knock out Umbreon, heal back up to full. Now I am slower, but here comes Flapple. Flapple doesn't have anything it can hit me with too hard at this moment. He can go for Outrage. It does a ton of damage. He doesn't, because of Hustle, it does a ton of damage. But it's not enough to knock me out. And in return, I can get another Drain Punch off and chunk him for all of his health and heal back a little bit. Putting it into the final standoff between Quaquaval and Iron Hands. Now he goes for that Wave Crash, barely doesn't knock me out, and I get to finish him off with that Drain Punch. Finishing off that quarterfinals game with my victory with Big Yellow. Now, was this a euphoric moment? Yes. Beating Michael at his own game with the exact same team I brought the previous time felt amazing. But, and furthermore, the last time he swept my last couple Pokemon with Iron Valiant as well, so it felt good to kind of do the same thing to him with my star player. The downside was, at this time, I was getting really bored of the, not bored, but just exhausted from this draft league. Takes up a lot of time, takes up a lot of energy, and I had finals and so many things going on, and trying to keep up with the draft league and all of my actual real life stuff was just draining. So part of me wanted to just throw the game and be done with the league and not have to worry about it. But I also wanted to kind of put Michael in his place one last time, because we did have an even record, and we had even records going into it, and he had beat me in in our last game, so I had to show him that I could beat him and that he couldn't just walk all over me. So this was I was glad I won. I was glad I won, but I wasn't very wasn't looking forward to continuing on in this bracket. So it was a very mixed feelings after this game. But all caps saying Big Yellow in the chat. I guess I was pretty excited. Um, Anyways, that's it for me. I have no idea how long this video is. I've just been kind of rambling, but I like rambling style videos. To me, it's nice to put on in the background just to listen to and have on as background noise. You could even do this almost like a podcast. You don't even need to look. I'm describing everything you see, anyways. But that's it for me. We're gonna be kind of changing things up for season 2 a little bit whenever that comes out. Uh, so yeah, for some context, we've been done with this draft league for a couple weeks now, but we wanted to get all the videos up before we do any season 2 stuff. But season 2 is going to be different and formatted a little bit different, and hopefully will be a bit more digestible in terms of content. We might still do long form videos and whatnot, but um, that's going to be way better. Trust me. But we do have to finish up these last couple season 1 videos, so bear with it. Anyways, yeah, again, that's all from me. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully, if I don't know how many people are even going to make it this far. Again, I don't know how long this video is, but thanks for listening to me rambling. Again, this has been uh, the Big Fishmonger, and hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.